Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
And the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Today is day 114 of our Memorial Day celebration. And I apologize, the chat room is not opening. I'm refreshing it, so hang in there. Hopefully we'll get it open here in a few minutes. Michael, hi.
Hi, sweetie. Well, I just got off the phone with David, who I think is listening to the show, and we just invite everybody to hold David in light. For those who are new to our show, David, of course, is someone who's with us just about every day. He's the property manager here at Heartland. And 2 mornings ago, he woke up to a phone call informing him that his 37-year-old son just died. So he's in Louisville, and he just shared with me that he's come from making the final funeral arrangements and seeing his son's body. And so we just open our hearts, David, to hold the space for you. At an obviously most difficult time.
You're not coming through real clear, Michael.
No?
Maybe
not
it's
sure
a little louder.
Why? Okay, I'll try. Being a little louder. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Can you hear me any better? Okay. So we're here to work with a conversation about forgiveness, and certainly an important conversation in our day, in our age, with the insanities going on in our culture, the young people who are losing their lives in this insane world where it's an absolute insanity for them to be leaving this early. We hold space for David and his whole family, for his son as he makes his journey to the light, son's wife, Erica, their son. And for the whole family. We're here to hold that space and to send you and surround you, David, in our light and in our love. And as we do send that light, we also move it in another direction, and that is into our invitation regarding Memorial Day. That our request for the last, since Memorial Day, which is about 100 and some days ago.
114.
114. So 114 days out from Memorial Day, and our request each day is that each person who's listening to the show be willing to look at one form of hostility or fear that they hold that helps to contribute to the destruction of human life on Earth, especially as it falls into the area of war. And that as we together, collectively, individually, decide to forgive. And forgiveness not having anything to do with letting somebody else off the hook for what's going on inside of you, but really, truly stepping into the forgiveness process. And the forgiveness process is that in which you reach inside yourself and you remove the hostilities, fears, the griefs, the pains, the hatreds, the vengeances that never belong within your family system, within your own body, within our culture. You know, if you hold a newborn child, you know exactly what human life is, and anything that's unlike that does not belong in our experience. So we invite you, if you're not familiar with the conversation about forgiveness and how it's done, we ask you to please go to the website, www.whyagain.com, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. We invite you to download the first 4 links. That will give you the whole story on Aramaic forgiveness. It'll show you exactly how to go inside yourself and literally remove your physiological capacity to produce any form of hostility or fear. It is a process. It's not an overnight event. It's definitely one that's a long-term engagement. Came across a quote from a physicist named Stephen Hawking. If you haven't heard of him, he's a man who I believe he's got cerebral palsy, and his body is pretty racked, but his mind is genius. And he's opening some frontiers in science that are just amazing. And the quote I just happened to come across was one where he says, "The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge." When we think we know what forgiveness is, when we think we've forgiven, oh, I let them off the hook, I let myself off the hook, we have the illusion of knowing what forgiveness is, and thereby are disempowered and engaged in the forgiveness process. Our invitation is that you go inside yourself and remove what never belonged. Any form of hostility or fear. And so that's our direction. That's our invitation to you. We invite you to join us in that. Our calling number, should you choose to call in and have a question for us, is 646-200-4169. We would be absolutely blessed and delighted to hear from you. Jeanie, do we have any callers or anything happening in the chat room to be aware of?
No, we don't.
Okay, is David with us today?
David's not with us. Tim is.
Oh, good. Good morning, Dr. Tim, or good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Quite well, thank you. It was hard to hear what you were saying in the beginning about David, but I got something about that he had just come from making the funeral arrangements.
Yes, from viewing his son's body for the first time today and making the funeral arrangements, and basically just working to field and to handle his own pain and the pain of those around him, the family members, his 12-year-old son, his wife, and
you faded out again, Michael.
Family. So we're here to hold the space for him.
Well, we're sending love and light and knowing it's all going to be all right. He certainly is a strong individual, and he's got wonderful tools and wonderful friends, and it's not possible to put words on a situation like this, so we'll just send light and love.
No. I'll join you in that, my friend.
And other than that, we're just busy here. We're getting ready for the group tonight in Crystal Lake, where we average between 6 and 14 people attending the group on a given evening.
Right.
And, looking forward to that tonight, hearing how the processing has gone this week for people who were doing worksheets last Tuesday. And it's been a very busy week, so I'm sure people will have a lot of stuff to report. Jeanie, please keep us posted if if Carrie shows up, an 847 number.
Okay.
She might let us know what went on in her group this week, and we just want to put it out there that we would love to hear from anybody who's doing a Mind Shifter group. If they have questions or processing the report, that would be a wonderful thing to hear about.
Well, I just spoke to a gentleman named Rex Montague Bauer up in Lansing, Michigan, and he did a Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop. He's been working with the work for about 20 years. So he did a Why workshop Sunday, and he's starting a support group. I didn't get the details of it. I'll have those within the next day or so. We'll go on the website, but it's in Lansing, Michigan. There's a support group starting. So we offer thanks and accolades to Rex. And Carrie is, I understand, soon on her way to Europe, I believe to England, she said. And I understand that David is going to take over the support group while she's gone. So apparently she's going to be gone, it sounds like maybe a month or more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So.
When you get a chance, could you shoot me Joe's email from Naperville from the Ruah Center, and I'll shoot her a note and encourage her about the group and ask what's going on there.
Sure. It's just Joe, J-O, at Ruah Center, RUAH Center.com.
Okay.
It's an easy one.
I got an email from Dayu, who was someone who came to do teachers training this summer, and she was also responsible for getting us into a group called In Familia down in Florida. And her email says, instead of doing 10 one-on-one sessions with 10 people, I'm now doing 5 one-on-one sessions each with up to 20 people by phone and Skype. A lot of newbies getting ready to do forgiveness worksheets and to know what it's all about, and some who have been doing it and are getting additional support. My goal is to give them support that they need to the point where they will do the 5 worksheets a day for 40-day commitment. This is amazing work, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to share it in my circle.
That's awesome, and that's just a gift to Dayu. I got an email from her, too, about it, that she's just offering to her community free, that she's going to do 5 worksheets a day, or pardon me, is it 2 worksheets a day?
She's doing 5 each day with up to 20 people.
So she's really putting herself out there to support people. And if you have an interest in connecting with Dayu, you could just give Jeanie your email address in the chat room, and we'll pass it on to Dayu. And if she has room, I know she said she had a limited number of people she was going to work with, and I don't know how full her calendar is for that, but that's a big commitment. 5 a day for 20 people? 100% a day.
I have a feeling it's 5 for 20 people, so she's going to try and get them started. I don't think she's going to try and do 5 a day with people.
Right.
But over a period of a month or so, she's going to help offer to get people through the process five times in a real solid way so they have a grasp of the tool.
Awesome gift, Dayu. I don't know if Dayu happens to be on the phone, but if you are, call us. Hop in, Dayu, and say hello. Tell us about your community gift.
And I've forwarded that to a few people who might be interested, and since she has the ability to do that on the internet or on the phone through Skype or just a phone with people, so she's in Florida but offering it to anybody anywhere.
Awesome.
And we're looking forward to the second half of your video tonight on responsibility communication.
Cool. That's a really fun set of tools. That's a powerful set of tools to work with, for sure.
Yeah, it's getting people to do it with an open mind and a willingness produces fabulous results.
Yes.
Well, we're doing intuitive development here at Heartland, and we tapped in last night and had some pretty cool experiences tapping into each other's energy, and that was pretty neat.
We're going into day 5. Right after the show, we'll be stepping into the classroom doing the next round of exercises on intuitive development.
Sounds pretty intense.
It is. It's a fun intensive. It's actually lighter than, although there's been quite a bit of processing, it's lighter than a regular intensive where we're doing the why and the healing through relationships and such. The exercises tend to be a little lighter and a little more fun-oriented in terms of their interaction. So we had, along with some good process work, we had some good laughs together as a group last night. There's some funny stuff that happened and funny things that people are tapping into. It's just a very cool process. And, I love Einstein's take on intuition. He says intuition is the only thing that's important. And we see people rushing off to try and figure things out with their intellects and leaving behind the most precious of faculties, and or the world dissing that faculty because, of course, in order to continue its fraud, you can't have people who live in knowing the truth. How would that work? Not very well. So, and you look at the power games that go on in the world and the suppression that's taken place, because in virtually every area of human endeavor where there's a weak truth to protect, something that really isn't true but is made to look true, a sophistry, and you find just all kinds of violence, physical, verbal, emotional, even including military, that is used as a way to keep people from knowing. And anybody that starts to know, you've got to get rid of them. If you look at the witches in Salem and do some research, they were basically intuitive women that were healing children especially. But you can't keep the truth away from people who function out of intuition. So you label them as some sort of evil and you get rid of them. And basically that's what's happened for so long and so often down through the ages. And millions have been murdered in human history for knowing or for even owning, for instance, books that would give them access to information that could threaten those who hold power based on incorrect translations of those books. It's crazy because, of course, information is knowledge and knowledge is power. And those who want to pretend they're the ones with all the power don't like it when somebody else shows up with true knowledge. So it is definitely a healing opportunity in our world to move through and out the other side of this insanity of hostility and fear on planet Earth and the reclamation of human life in each case. As I said yesterday, and I acknowledge once again David for standing in the space with all this trauma that's going on for him, standing in the space of offering each person in his family system support for the energy of grief and pain and rage and fear and whatever around this event of his son passing. And we acknowledge you, David, if you're listening, for your strength of character and your willingness to even start to go there and not just buckle and fold.
He's not on.
No. Okay. Well, I talked to him just before the show, and he said he was going to call in, but it could be that he's got another call, too. He's got 13 brothers and sisters, so there's all kinds of family communication happening.
So earlier I had gotten an email from someone, so this might be something that we can put out on the show here. Somebody was wanting to know about the other tools that we always talk about, the forgiveness worksheet, but that they noticed that on the website that there was a lot of worksheets, and how do they know what to use when? And so if you also look, if you click on the download worksheets, and this is at our website, www.whyagain.com, click on download worksheets, And just underneath where it says worksheets to print and use, it talks about going to the Spanish worksheets, which are now available. And then it says for guidance, click here, what tool do I use when? And so that's actually just above all of the worksheets. So you can click on that, and it kind of gives you a guideline of what each worksheet covers and what DVD or whatever that it went with. And that's also listed down in where you click down, scroll down to where all the other worksheets are, and it will tell you that it's like the worksheet from the codependence to interdependence, or a tool used in healing through relationships, or the rules from communication. So it gives you what DVD or CD that worksheet goes with, so that as you're watching that particular DVD, then you can pull that worksheet and work on it. So we do have tremendous amount of tools out there, not just the forgiveness worksheet, but it is the foundation.
And if you choose to go to the right-hand side, you'll see an area that says Order Products. If you want a deeper explanation of each of the worksheets, the related DVDs are available. They're each 2-hour live workshops, except for the Why Is This Happening to Me Again, where we have both a 2-hour and a 4-hour. And then there are several of the workshops that are available on CD, 5 different workshops available on CD. And the CDs are 4-hour live workshops. So that gives you a sense of the explanation of those tools. And so if you want a deeper understanding of those tools, you can just jump on the website and order those DVDs. And we're actually working toward the technology where we can have the DVDs all on the website, and that somebody can just get on and, for a nominal fee, watch the DVD. So it's one more of those plates that we're spinning as we take this to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. The project is bigger than both of us, than all of us, and anybody that wants to offer some support and assistance in making it happen, we certainly could use that. At Heartland right now, we've got some building projects underway. We could use some help if somebody wants to come spend a weekend or a week or two and hammer some nails and put some things together. That would be awesomely helpful. We also are building a greenhouse, and so there are lots of projects happening. If somebody wants to help in that regard, if somebody wants to help with database entry, we've got lots of that work to do. That's another place where somebody can volunteer. Publicity in general, Facebook, just, how can you, if you choose to, jump in and support us taking this out and making it available to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. Basically, Jeanie and I spend basically pretty much every waking hour focused on what can we do next to take this and bring it further afield. This radio show is just one expression of that. We're definitely blessed to have this show now, and we thank Carol for putting it together for us and supporting us on Earth Angels Radio Network so that we can offer support to every mind, heart, and being on the planet that wants to tap in. So anywhere in the globe, if you've got somebody who's in Timbuktu or wherever, you can tap them into the radio show through the internet. They can listen. They can get in the chat room and ask questions. They can call in on the show, by the way. If you want to call in on the show, the call-in number 646-200-4169. And we'd love to hear your voice. That always makes the show more exciting to get into real-life situations and really bring forward the tools and actual life events. It's something that we just love to do in supporting you. And also you can go back and there are archives. There are, I don't know, what have we got? 3, 7, about over 200. Yeah, so over 200 shows in the tube that you can go back and listen to. Jeanie has titled them, and you can get a pretty good idea from the titles what area they cover. One of the most awesome shows to listen to is the third link under the download worksheet section, and if you go to the upper right-hand corner of the website, that link is also there in the sample worksheet. So
we have a question in the chat room.
Oh, cool. Let's go for it.
Joy says, is there an exercise or an example from the intuition workshops that can be covered on air about how to access our intuition and to help with working on worksheets?
Well, in terms of working with worksheets, one of the most important keys, I think, in that process is the request. You'll notice in step number, if you're working with a 7-step worksheet, in step number 5B, you create an invitation, a request. And that request, you'll see in brackets on the worksheet, uses some strange words. They're Aramaic, ruka-kudsha, and that those words refer to a power that resides in us that is there, willing and supportive in processing us through our genetic memory and the insanity that we've been filled with by our culture and by our family systems and by our own not knowing. And so you can invite that power to go to work. In Aramaic, it's defined as a feminine elemental force that undoes the effects of our errors and teaches us the truth. So inviting that power to go to work in you can be an enormous help in doing worksheets. So that'll be one of the more important steps in that regard. As far as doing the intuitive, I haven't really thought about, what it would be like to do that on the radio. It's a 9-day full-time residential intensive. We'll spend anywhere from 5 to 6 hours a day in class, and then time doing worksheets and that sort of thing. So it's not something I've thought about doing. I'll put that in the hopper and see if that might be a topic we might pull into the radio show. I'll just have to look at that one. I'm not sure. Of course, one of the things that keeps people from their intuition is the hostilities and fears, the noise. One of the things we do a movie night during the intensive, and there's a really awesome film out there which you might want to put your hands on. It's one of those that you need to own. It's called Rumor of Angels. And it's a story of basically healing issues around death. And at one point, the woman who's guiding this young boy into dealing with the death of his mother says, asks if he talks to her. And he says, well, but she's dead. He says, yeah. She says, well, so? He said, well, but she's dead. You can't. I said, no, you don't hear her because you haven't dealt with your grief. And it is the rages and the griefs and the fears that keep us from hearing that intuitive voice. And so as you collapse the output of the mind based in pain, the mind based in hostility and fear, that's the key to transforming and opening, or one of the keys to opening the intuition. So you'll find yourself naturally becoming more intuitive as you utilize the tools and bring them into expression in your world, really actually putting the pen to the paper and using the tools. The hostility and fear that we hold are the noise that keep us from hearing that, what was called in the ancient teachings, the still small voice.
Michael, I don't know if you can use a different speaker or something, but you're really muffled. It's really hard to understand you at times.
I don't know.
I don't know what. I don't either.
Using for months.
And I asked them in the chat room if it was just my speaker or if it sounded off, and they say also that they think it's your phone. So, and Tim's voice is real clear coming across.
Yeah. Well, let me try something else here. Let's see.
Okay.
It was clearer earlier in the show. In that last segment, it got more broken. Well, it's not really broken. It's just muffled and echoey.
Okay, is that any better now?
Yes, much.
Okay, well, it must be my Bluetooth headset then, because that's what I've been using for months, and there must be something going haywire with that. So I'll just use the phone this way.
Yeah, you're much clearer there.
Good. Okay.
So our call-in number is 646-200-4169. If you have a question, give us a call or in the chat room. And our website is www.whyagain.com. Give the worksheets a try and let us know how it goes.
Well, and the other thing, we haven't talked about much is you've got your book is available on CD and MP3.
It is.
And it's so packed with, it's very, very dense material. And
are you saying I'm dense, Tim?
No, the material is dense. A lot of worksheet. This is not an attack. This is a compliment. And whether reading the book or listening to the audio, either modality alone would take many, many repetitions for the full impact of the material to even begin to settle in. And I just wanted to make a comment that, I don't know how many times I've been through the book, and it's been about 7 years since I was introduced to the material, but hearing the audio version of the book, as you often talk about, is stimulating different areas of my brain. I can do it when I'm driving. I can do it when I'm going to sleep at night. And I start to pick up different pieces in a different way than when I'm sitting and engaging my eyes and reading the book itself. So there's so much meat in that. And essentially, I think, as I listen to the book again this time, I'm hearing how all of your other workshops have split off from this core material.
Right.
So there's a lot of benefit to be had by getting a hold of the book, or especially if you're an auditory learner, the book on CD or on MP3, and listening to some of the examples that you outline about how Richard, this fictional character who's a compilation of probably hundreds of people you've worked with over the years, how he gains new insights about the workings of his own mind. And I'm often trying to get people in the therapy office, when I'm trying to introduce this stuff, to start looking in their own life for situations where they're with a group of people and something happens and one or two people in the group are absolutely upset or enraged or fearful, and the rest of the group is wondering why that person is so upset or fearful, when they've all just witnessed exactly the same event or heard exactly the same presentation. And the more we can get people to do that, the more we crack open that possibility that the conditioning we've been programmed with all these years just isn't the way it really works. No one outside of me is causing anything I'm feeling inside. And when people start to, when you see that light bulb go off for people, it's a thrill, because this is opening a whole new world to them. It's a whole new world of possibility. Yes, there's responsibility involved, but the liberty that comes with that responsibility is beyond words. If I recognize I'm the one that's creating my actual perception of the world and my response to it, then I've got all kinds of places where I can intervene. And I can take active steps to make my experience of life more loving and peaceful and compassionate. So I just wanted to offer, that's highly recommended to grab a hold of the audio either on CD or MP3 and give it a listen.
People can go to the website and order the book on MP3 or on CD, but you can also order the MP3. I think the MP3 is $10, Jeanie? And it's delivered electronically, so you can put it on your MP3 player or on your phone or whatever and listen to it. And so that's available. And Jim, I very purposely, I'm a very slow writer because I purposely put, rather than, the way a lot of writers write, you read 3 pages to get an idea, I try my best to put at least 2 ideas in every sentence. So it's like something meaningful in every sentence, in every paragraph to to open the space to build the brain cells, and really to create an energetic experience, to light the fire of the active mind, the real mind that is possible for us to live in, is really the key. There's actually a quote from a magistrate from back in 48 A.D., a fellow named Plutarch, and he says, "The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be ignited." And when one starts to understand how they function, to me, that's the most empowering way to light that fire and to have the embers of being burning within us to bring forward a true human life, as opposed to what many settle for, which is just to replicate what's gone on in the past generations, pretended success or money is enough, and then make our way to the grave. It's really about a whole different thing, and so thank you for that acknowledgement of the book. It's actually in the process of a rewrite. It'll be expanded greatly in its next edition, but folks can download it free on the website in many different languages, and order the MP3 or the book on CD, as well as the live workshop.
The other thing I want to say about it is that I remember when I first went to graduate school, I had a class in which the textbook was written by the professor teaching the class. And I remember many days sitting in the library with 3 different dictionaries trying to get through this book, because this gentleman used so many 50-cent and $5 words that I had to have 2 different regular dictionaries and a psychological terms dictionary. And it was overwhelming and challenging. And I was thinking about that today when I was listening to your book again, driving into work. There are times when the material, there's just so much in each sentence that if I tried to get it all, I would constantly be rewinding and constantly rewinding. So I want to encourage people, if they get the book on audio and they're listening, just let it play. And as you talk about in one of your, or several of your lectures, you're going to talk fast and you want people to give up the idea of keeping up with every idea. Just let it in, just let it wash over you, and watch what happens, because certain ideas will jump out at you and other ideas will feel completely overwhelming or too much. And the process unfolds so that the next time you go, a different idea will jump out at you. And as you talk about, you're building the experience so that you can understand the material in a completely different level. So don't feel overwhelmed, just feel. And let it happen.
And there's so much deceit that's been given to us. You know, if we look at it, the game of the world is teach us knowledge in its way so that you don't ever know the truth, and call what the world believes truth. And, you know, when you look at, like, how long has this been, remember that song, How Long Has This Been Going On? Let me read another quote to you. Let's see if you can tell when somebody might have written this. Strange times are these in which we live, when old and young are taught in falsehood school. And the person that dares to tell the truth is called at once a lunatic and a fool. When do you suppose that was written, that this idea of falsehood school has pervaded the whole culture? How long do you suppose that's happened? Would you venture a guess? Anybody? I mean, is that talking about the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 50s?
You mean the 1850s, the 1880s?
Well, whatever. When do you suppose someone would pen those words? Strange times are these, in which we live, when old and young are taught in falsehood school. And the person that dares to tell the truth is called at once a lunatic and a fool.
Ancient Greece?
Plato wrote it, 427 B.C. It's like, this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's like, reading Krishnamurti back in the 80s and hearing him talk about how, just slow down and think about it, read in history, and if you leave out the technology, you're reading about the very same human dynamics from the beginning of time. We haven't changed at all.
Yep. Well, hopefully we are
changing. Yep, it's time to start changing.
And just as you say, listening to the book over and over, or the live workshop over and over, it really opens a space for the change, a complete change of beliefs. A really deep, fundamental shift has to take place in our comprehension to see through the flaws and the many accepted and seemingly obvious truths of our world. The transformation comes through. Again, the ancients said, be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And when you do that, you have a completely different way of knowing. The world would love to put that way of knowing away, to get rid of it. That's why it takes children and says it educates them. Now, of course, it does not educate children at all. We have almost zero education in our culture. That's why if you look at the statistics, 4, age 5 children are peaking in their creativity and expression, and once they go into the so-called education system, their creativity just drops, just plummets. I mean, the statistics are there. Go look them up. And you recognize that what the world wants to do is do away with true knowing and teach us its way of knowing. So it's a complete reforming of the conceptual framework in the mind. And that's why the listening to that book on CD over and over and over again leads to a shift in basic perception. And, there's okay, cool. Let me just share one more thought. There's one named Angie. I used to rent a home in South Florida from her, or a room in her home. And she became very involved in this work. She was this little Italian lady in her 70s. And she was an accountant, very precise. And she traveled quite a bit with me around Florida doing workshops. And when she'd listened to the Why Is This Happening to Me Again, and she had her notes and her records, she knew how many times she'd been in the workshop. The 100th time that she listened to the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop live, she once again said to me, as she'd said 100 times before, Michael, why wasn't that in the last workshop? And I'd say, Angie, go listen to the tapes. It's there. And she'd go listen to the tapes. And sure enough, she'd just say, I can't believe that I didn't hear that last. How did you? I've heard this workshop 100 times. And it's because that renewal of the mind takes time to build the brain cells to shift out of the frauds and the deceits of our culture. As, Plato, you stop and think, the world was, in the times of Greece, the sophist was the philosopher that went around Greece and taught children for big bucks, the children of the wealthy, how to tell lies and make their lies sound true. That was sophistry. Most people don't realize that their second year of college is that of being a sophomore. It's the second year of training to be a sophist. The third year they're called a junior sophister. The fourth year, they're a senior sophister. Those who've been taught to tell lies and make their lives look true. Listen to Plato, 427 B.C., strange times, when young and old are taught in falsehood schools. And basically, the whole world has been Hellenized. That doesn't mean it's been sent to hell, actually. The word Hellenized refers to the fact that wherever Greece went and conquered, basically they converted the thinking structure, the thinking system of the structure of the culture into a Greek thought system. They called it being Hellenized. And when they took Yeshua's teachings in Aramaic, the original physics, the original physiology, the original psychology, the original genetic teachings of the man named Yeshua from 2,000 years ago, and Hellenized it, it just became so much of it's just not. It's crazy. It's not accurate. It's not true about what the man said, but it's taken over the culture. And by and large, if the man named Yeshua sat in most churches today, he'd say that's all Greek to me. And he didn't think Greek. He didn't speak Greek. He probably, very likely, didn't ever hear the Greek language spoken. And yet, they say it was written in Greek. It's like, give me an intermission here, folks. Let's wake up. The world wants to do away with true knowing, and you've got to turn everything backward. I love what George Orwell says. He says, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. So let's see who our caller is. Where are you calling from?
From Oregon.
Yes, it's Miss Julie from Ashland.
Well, hey there,
Julie.
Miss Julie. How do you be?
I'm really good. Oh,
Awesome.
so good. So many things healing. And I thank you so much. And, I'm pretty sure you always have listeners. It seems like you don't always have people calling in. But I know I'm telling people all the time about listening to your show. And we had a really good support group last night. And because they asked me, well, do you have any examples? And I was blank, as far as how the worksheets are doing for me and are things really healing in my life. I was blank because when things disappear and dissolve, they're gone, But I finally recalled, a few and shared with them, and they were real happy to hear that it really does work, and it gives me even more conviction. And I'm just so excited to get really on board and help teaching this in the world. So I have a few things to say. I want to say that I vouch definitely for listening to the MP3 download of the book. I find it really just a great way to build brain cells when you're doing things like chores, washing dishes, walking the dog, which sounds like you're not really paying attention, but as we know, there's so many energetic levels to our mind, that you can do a mundane task and be taking it in on the other levels. So I love that. And I hear something new all the time, even though I hear the story over and over again. But the way you designed the book and the way you and Richard read it, it really is listenable to. It just is easy to follow, and even if I hear the same conversation and script over and over again, it doesn't bother me because I go deeper each time. So I recommend
brain
it.
cells. Yeah, It's kind of fun the way the reading of the book came together. I'd actually written the book. It had been published for about maybe 4 or 5 years, and my son's employer called me one day, and he's been a student of mine for several years. He called me one day and said, Michael, I was in the bathtub this morning asking what the next step was in my spiritual work and spiritual process. And he said, I was told I had to read the part of Richard, the character in the book, in the reading of your book. And he has a studio. He's an actor as well as a computer genius. And so he said, next time you can get up here, let's get in the studio and let's record the book. And so we did. And he went through just huge process right down to, as he was talking about the relationship issues, heart pain, pardon me, all kinds of stuff came up for Richard. So it's a very realistic reading of the part for the fellow that played that part in the book. And we thank you, Graham. His name's Graham Gibson. He's an owner of a company called CTC in Kansas City, Missouri. So he played the part, and it was a very powerful process to go through with him.
That's great. I can tell he's good at it, and you are too. You read the fact that you're reading things that are already written that are from your own mind. You just read real smoothly and clearly, and it really communicates. Really does. So And I also find I'm not distracted. For me, well, it's not totally a distraction, but when I'm reading things on the board, like I do okay on the DVDs. I really do pick up a lot, but there's more to focus on. But when it's only listening, I do better. And the pace isn't quite as fast as your workshops are, so that's nice too.
Right.
So I have a question, a little one.
Yes, ma'am.
Back on August 24th, I called in because I was inspired by something you were discussing with another caller about can witch doctors do real voodoo and actually have an effect on you, and you really described how that works really well. And I came up with this idea of energetic devotion, which was, I think, intuitively inspired. And I've just really been working with that, and it feels like a whole new book. And I just wondered if you'd like to write a book together. Or I'll just write it and give you credit, or you can use it in your book. But it just seems like, even you were just talking about all the frauds and deceits in society, and we give our devotion to them, and it has a voodoo effect on us because we let it.
Yep.
So.
Well, it's very accurate, and at this point, having about 5 different books on the go and 1,000 different projects, I probably won't get into writing another one at this point. But you're certainly welcome to take that, and I will. I loved that idea when you came up with it, the energetic devotion we have to our pain, to our trauma, to our hate, to our rage, to our fear, and the willingness to let that loose is one of the keys to healing, for sure.
I don't know if there's more people, but I wanted to mention my friend Ed would really love a phone call from you at some point. He needs some help.
That's interesting. I called Ed about 2.5 hours ago.
Oh, great. Was he available, or was he not available?
I just got his voicemail, but I did leave him a message.
Okay. Well, he's going through some health things and he's doing worksheets. He must be up to 200 worksheets now. He's really been doing them 5 a day.
Yeah, he really stuck to that commitment. Yeah, I called him about 11 o'clock our time, which would be 9 o'clock your time, and did leave him a message, so hopefully I'll hear from him.
Okay, good. All right. And I have a question about getting onto the blog radio so that I can actually listen on my computer. And I never find the way to do that. And since I'm leading a group, I need to tell people how to do it. Could Jeanie call me or something at some point about that?
I didn't quite get the question. What is it?
Actually, Julie. Actually, if you go to the website, whyagain.com, and click on Mind Shifters Radio, the directions of how to get on the Internet are right there.
I know. I've seen that. And do I have to sign up or something and do it?
If you want to talk in the chat room, you have to sign up. And those directions are out there as well.
Well, if I just want to listen, I can. Maybe my computer's not allowing me to do this or something.
No, you should be able to click on and listen. You have to click on the right show. I had somebody the other day say that they clicked and it was a totally different show, and it was one that was archived. So you have to click on the one that says on air on the Blog Talk Radio / Earth Angels Radio. But the instructions are on our page, and it's also there as a download of a PDF, so you can download it and print it off or whatever to follow the directions too if you need to.
Okay, so I mean I've got it on air now, but I'm not getting sound, and it tells me I can do tweet or email or share or embed this show, and I don't have many options. I'm not sure which thing to click. I mean, I really don't get it. I've tried everything I can see that's a thing to click. And it just gets me nowhere.
I'll email you the directions.
Okay, because I've tried often.
Your computer's a Mac, isn't it?
No, the one I've got now is an iBook. It's pretty old,
it's an iBook.
2004. I hate to take your airtime now, so that's why I was asking.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty.
I'll let you know. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So any other questions in the chat room or any callers, sweetie?
No, that's it.
No? Okay. Well, let's look at this. Okay, well, let's take the last few minutes and talk a little more about this fundamental shift that has to take place in the mind, and the book is designed for that shift. And by the way, the book on CD or the MP3 is a newer version than the one that's in print right now. I did some editing to bring that to a new level. So, and it's going through another edit now. But that thing of what we're calling, what was referred to in the ancient teachings as the renewing of the mind, leads to a completely different way of knowing, and the world wants to do away with that form of knowing. It just it doesn't want people to have direct knowledge, and so it says, oh, you have to know the way we know. And, an example of that for me is, do you remember in math class in school, and there was a problem put on the board, and you came up with the right answer, but you couldn't explain how you got the answer in a way that matched the teacher's way of getting the answer? You got the right answer. You got a failing grade. Anybody remember that happening? I do. And now, wait a minute now. I get a failing grade because I have the right answer. Is this a universe where that thought makes any sense at all? And, of course, the only way you could possibly get a failing answer, or pardon me, a failing grade for a correct answer, because it doesn't match the teacher's way of getting it, is where control, not learning, is the objective. And that's the objective of most so-called education. The word educate, educare, means to draw out. It does not mean to put in. There's actually a physician, a fellow named Michael Poliani, who's an MD. He was a cutting-edge chemical researcher and an expert in the analysis of science and society. And he's one of the few scientists in his research that honor direct personal knowledge, valid scientific method. So here's this chemical researcher, and what he's telling us is that direct personal experience is valid scientific method. Now, of course, the world that wants you to know the way it knows says, no, you have to do our form of scientific method. Actually, Poliani laid a foundation for a fellow named Thomas Kuhn, who's, I forget his credentials, but Harvard, MIT graduate. He wrote a book called The Nature of Scientific Revolution, and what he says is that science is designed to keep new knowledge away. And he says that, Kuhn's conclusion was that new scientific ideas take hold when the old scientists die. And what Kuhn says is that a scientist's success depends on what he refers to as tacit knowledge, that is, unexplainable knowledge that's acquired through practice and cannot be articulated explicitly. It's not logical head knowledge. It's direct knowledge. And what we're looking to do is to support you in having direct knowledge of the way your mind, your life, and your world works, the way your relationships work, how to work through issues that are a challenge to you. That's what we're here to support you in. And that's going to take direct personal knowledge. That's what these tools are about, supporting you in having. Not something the world necessarily appreciates or wants you to have, but those direct experiences are the one that open up a whole new world to each of us. And we join you in opening up the world where you have the best year yet of your eternal life. Blessings. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.mindshiftersradio.com. whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.